Like, they didn't force pregnant women in Europe to lose their jobs or to get the vaccine. That was something the Europeans said, no way, no way, right? This is, getting pregnant is a very fragile and tough process as it is biologically. We're not going to introduce some type of experimental therapeutic into that process. And the Europeans were right, of course, about that. Why the Americans? Why were we the target of this?
Well, first of all, you can't even begin to have the conversation if you don't recognize that COVID was a bioweapon. Okay, it was a bioweapon that that we knew our intelligence agencies were tracking from the very, very beginning, because number one, China only builds bioweapons labs. And in case you hadn't noticed, they don't come up with cures for cancer or drugs that help people heal. Their people die in abject poverty from the most basic diseases, and they couldn't care less. So U.S. intelligence and the U.S. government knows that all China does is bioweapons facilities. Because this kind of research was deemed to be so unethical and so dangerous, we farmed it out to China, right, through Ralph Baric and the EcoHealth Alliance, Peter Danzig, North Carolina Chapel Hill University. So we farmed it out through them, through these contractors. So we knew from the very beginning, when you see that name COVID-19, that's the 19th iteration of 19 represents. This is the 19th form of this particular bioweapon. So, I mean, it was very, very obvious. We know what the bioweapon did in America. Donald Trump had just survived beginning of 2019. He'd come out of the fake Ukraine impeachment trial, and the U.S. economy was through the roof. Lowest unemployment amongst Black people in years, lowest unemployment amongst Hispanic Americans. I mean, you could go on and on and on. And people had finally had enough of the Russia BS. Trump was going to sail through the second election with an absolute majority. And they had to do everything that they could to shut it down. The other thing is that viruses do not replicate identically in hot and cold climates. Like a virus, it's just the way it is in nature, that it spreads differently in a hot climate versus a cold climate. But this bioweapon spread at the same time, at the same speed in hot and cold countries, which tells you, it told every doctor who, knew anything about this. It told scientists, it told people who were bioweapon specialists. I spoke to many of these people. They knew from day one, this is engineered, this is man-made, this has been released. So, but in the United States of America, right, that vaccine that went all over the world, you had to have an emergency to get an emergency use authorization for the vaccine. You had to have it. And as we all know, has been exposed now, they couldn't get an EUA if there was an existing treatment, which was ivermectin. Ivermectin was available worldwide in third world countries, first world countries. Every farmer had it, every rural community had it, every city had it. It was cheap. It was effective. If they knew that if they used ivermectin, they could never send out this kill shot, which is what they wanted to do.